Joined by UMass Boston Volleyball head coach Michael Houlihan ahead of the Beacons matchup against number 3 Keene State. Coach, you played Keene State about 2.5 weeks ago now. What was the takeaway from that 3-1 victory?
It was a good point for us in the season. We really started to kind of solidify turning around and getting more comfortable with each other as a program, as a team, and be able to create those connections that we need to. I think the big thing was, I don't know what Keene was expecting, and I think they understand a little bit better now who we are and what we're about. So I think that was kind of just a warm-up match. I think this one is going to be a lot more difficult, and it's something that we're going to have to really kind of come to the court expecting something a lot different. It's what we've been kind of working on in practice over the last few weeks.
Yeah, you talk about maybe a changing point for this team. It's when Livia Trindade really came onto the scene. She had double-digit kills. You had, I think it was 3 players with 10 or more kills, 5 with 8 or more. Was that kind of a turning point in your season, that Keene win? I know you had just beaten UMass Dartmouth, a big conference win, but Keene always such a big rival, a team that's typically towards the top of the standings, and you went on to win 4 consecutive matches, including another big one at WestCon to wrap up that 4-game winning streak.
I think if you look at outcomes, obviously, I think it was a turning point. I think for us, though, it's just really what we've been building on all year. Liv has been developing throughout the year, and she really was able to come into that match and make an immediate impact, and has continued to for our team. So that point for her has been kind of an eye-opening one in a sense that the impact that she's having has been tremendous. With that said, I think all year we've just been building towards this, and I think what happened was essentially we just were able to kind of all connect together on the same night, which really just proved that we had the ability to do what we always knew that we could do.
Looking at this Keene State team, the one player who really pops off the page is Sydney Johnson, who just does a ton for them and gets a ton of swings. Is the goal to shut her down, or is it really maybe limiting her while also focusing on a couple of other players?
She's a tremendous player. I don't know if there's really an opportunity to completely shut her down. With that said, we have some stuff that we're looking at day to day and trying to figure out maybe some ways to slow her down a little bit, but a lot of different avenues that we can take to kind of take care of that. With that said, though, she's a terrific player, and that we're just going to be ready for her to do what she does on an everyday basis, and that's just be good.
You guys didn't get a season last season, but you're coming off a run to the championship in 2019, and you have a lot of players back from that group, some of those players who were involved in runs previous to that. How does that maybe help some of your younger players, especially your DSs are a little bit younger, get prepared for a playoff atmosphere?
Yeah, I think obviously with a little bit of kind of essentially extension between our 2019 run and what we're trying to do right now, there's a lot of time in there. I think one of the best things that we did during that time period is we started building those relationships online through Zoom, and those type of opportunities really were kind of set by the time we came in the season. So that was one thing that we were able to do. And through that, we were able to figure out the leadership kind of component of it and how it would carry over into the season. I think all year we've had terrific leadership, and the trickle-down effect in that and the mentorship in that, I think, are some things that really kind of got us through some of these hard parts early on. With that said, I think right now we're just connecting really well, and I think it's really thanks to the leadership that we were able to kind of get to that connection point without kind of setting ourselves back mentality-wise. So it's really kind of played a huge difference. Obviously, at this point, we don't really have anyone that should be considered freshmen anymore or newcomers. We've had a whole season behind us, so it's really about just showing up and being able to do what we can do and play well.
Coach, what do you see as the keys for this match?
I just think volleyball in general, the key is serving and passing. I think it's offensive systems that are in system versus out of system. And I really think that's just the key to all volleyball at the moment. And I think it's something that we focus ourselves on and we work on every day in practice. But it really kind of is going to come down to those little details outside of the serve and pass game, right? Who can position themselves well enough to get some balls that they typically don't? Who can run down those balls that are kind of mishit or put into areas, right? Those little teeny details are going to be those extra points needed to kind of turn this around and give it to one team or the other.